Hi, welcome to Explore HVAC and Home Services webinar. I am Pam Mashburn. I'm the owner of Explore HVAC, and we've been in business in the marketing agency space for 20 years. And so we hear a lot about what's going on out there, especially in the HVAC industry. And one of the top topics that we hear about is I am dead. The phones aren't ringing. We're in shoulder season. What can we do? What can you do to get my phone ringing? So, I think this is a really great webinar to look at and how to build a year round lead engine, even in the off season. So, revenue doesn't dry up when demand does if you do these key things. And we're going to talk about four key things that you can be doing. And here's the other piece: you've got to be ready for shoulder season before shoulder season. So it's all about timing. So let's just talk through this. We know the problem, right? It's we're in an industry, whether it's roofing, whether it's HVAC, that's really weather driven. And sometimes plumbing is not as weather driven, but if there's a cold snap or whatever, you're definitely gonna hear those phones ringing. So we've got weather driven demand, but when we don't, then we've got people that are sitting around that we're paying. And so we start doing this panic discounting. And so we want to make sure that we're building your pipeline so that you've got other things to do. So no one's sitting around and that you're able to handle when the emergencies come in. So let's talk about a four-part lead engine. So we always want to do seasonal offers, right? Um, this is proactive campaigns that are, creating demand for the phone to ring. Things like tune-ups, early bird specials, March Madness specials. We also want to make sure that throughout the year we're building trust and authority because we don't need a new HVAC system every year. As a consumer, we're looking at a pipeline of 8 to 10 years. So, meanwhile, you've got to create trust and authority with those consumers, with your neighbors that are out there in the community. We want to create a database. So, we want to make sure we're nurturing our database of customers. Because once you pay for a lead with someone, you don't have to pay for that lead again. You want them to call you directly. You want to be top of mind and you want to be the go to for that, which leads into the next four-part lead engine, and that's your memberships. So, your maintenance plans, your memberships, this is the part that makes you sticky and it makes people go, oh, I'm paying them for this and we've got an issue. Let's call them. I get 10% on my repairs. And not only does it make you sticky, but it also creates advocates. So everybody wants to have a guy. And so you become the guy. And when somebody says, hey, have you got a guy? They can say, yeah, I got a guy. It's great. It's, Mashburn HVAC. But the main thing that we want to talk about here is not waiting for emergencies, but manufacturing demand. So, what we found is that there are really four main high converting campaign categories. You've always got your tune up campaigns, and I know we've been doing them year after year. We get bored of them, but they work. So we want to keep them in there. These are the AC preseason checks, the heating safety checks, the early bird discounts, the promos that we're going to be doing. These are the things that get your books filled when the weather is nice. It's so funny because when there is the nice weather, I feel guilty. I'm like, I really need to be praying for like a heat wave or a snowstorm. So we need to be doing tune-ups. We need to be doing other stuff when we have those bouts of really nice weather. Another high converting campaign is indoor air quality. So, of course, we want to make sure we don't call them indoor air quality because no consumer knows that term. So we want to talk about things like about the purifiers, the air purifiers, the humidifiers, and we want to start bundling those. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the main angle here in messaging is health and family protection, creating a non emergency demand. I love bundling. I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. I love bundling. I have a client and they talk about the Breathe Easy campaign. And I love that campaign because everybody understands what it means to breathe easy. So they don't have to understand what's all in there, but they know that if I get a Breathe Easy bundle, my life is going to be so much better in my home. The third one is aging equipment. So This is where we're talking about getting system health evaluations. I know this is an old tactic that's come back new again as rejuvenations of systems. And this is actually a really great campaign for the economy that we're in right now, which is people are holding on to their money. They're a little fearful of like tariffs and things that are going on that they can't control. So they're looking at trying to stretch that system as long as they can. And they keep adding, even though it has a leak, and they keep adding. So if you can do some things that would rejuvenate the system and make it last a little bit longer, then you've got them in your pipeline. Maybe the install replacement doesn't happen that year, but when it needs to happen next year or the year after, you've got them in the pipeline, and you're also communicating with them and letting them know, hey, now's the time because we've got this special financing, or now's the time because we've got this special rebate. So this is a great campaign to use on your clients that are trying to stretch their dollars and that their equipment is getting aged. Um, the next one, and I kind of already led into that, was financing promos. We're finding huge success on financing. The great thing about this is if they're looking at using their cousin who knows a little bit about HVAC, but is just a handyman, he's not going to offer financing. So this is a point of difference for some of our larger HVAC and home service companies, and people are looking for finance. And so this is a great one. Any kind of zero down or 0% interest or 5-year financing deals, those seem to be really popular right now. Okay, so you want to stay top of mind. So I'm going to go back to the trust and authority. So with trust and authority, we find that it takes 8 to 15 times that they see you somewhere to remember you. It takes more than that for them to actually pick up the phone and call you. But mainly what you want to do with trust and authority is that everybody says, oh, I met that guy. I met some guy the other day at the ball field, or met some guy in the store, and they have their hat on with their name or their shirt. So you want to make sure you're out there organically being everywhere that they are, but then also that you've got good testimonial ads. So you're on social media, that you're putting out photos a lot. I've said this often, people read photos and they just look at words. So you don't want to tell people, you want to show people. Also, you can show them all kinds of offers that you have. You can talk about your maintenance plans, the guarantees that you have. But what you mainly want to make sure is that your branding is locked in, and that once they've seen you, they get interested and that they don't forget you. So your past customer database is your gold mine. You're going to want to make sure that you are um, collecting emails, you're collecting phone numbers, that and then you should segment install customers, past service clients, and especially maintenance members, because there may be offers around maintenance membership that you don't want to make that offer and fatigue your regular clients, or it might be a special offer and then they go, wait a minute, I didn't get that offer. So you want to segment your list. Um, Make sure if you have the right kind of CRM, that you can write down how old their system is when you go in there for a service, because you can change up your marketing to people that look like they're getting kind of to the end of life. So there's two ways that we really like to nurture your database. And one of them is email campaigns. I like email campaigns. They don't get a ton of conversions unless it's just a great, you would be stupid not to take me up on this offer kind of offer in the email. But an email is a great way to promote your your staff, to promote educational pieces. And whether someone opens it or not, they're going to have to decide something. I'm either going to trash it or not. It is like a modern day mailing piece. But what's nice about it is it's not so intrusive. People expect to be getting emails. And so every month, they should be seeing your name at least in an email. And if you have a really nice email, like one thing we do with a couple of clients, actually more than a couple, is we've started adding in recipes from staff. And you would be amazed at how many people click on the recipe, go to the website to see what that recipe is. I don't even cook anymore, but because my kids are out of the house now, I don't cook anymore, but I still like a good recipe. So I'm still looking at it. And it will increase your website traffic, which helps your SEO ranking. So having a good email campaign is important in a lot of different ways. But when you're talking about your campaign, your database reactivation, another great way is with text messages. So you've got to be a little more strategic because when people get a text message, um, if they don't if they're getting customer fatigue, like if you're sending it too often and it's things that they don't want, they're gonna say stop. Now, it doesn't mean they're not a customer, but they're gonna say stop a lot quicker with a text message than they will with an email. So you wanna make sure that your text messages are things that are high volume, low cost items that people would say, "Oh, I don't need that $49 tune-up right now, but I'm staying on the database because when I do, I wanna make sure that I have this in my text history." I do that with, like, Shoe Station and other people. I'm like, "Oh, I don't need any Skechers," but one day they're gonna have, you know, the shoes that I wear are gonna be on special, so I'm gonna stay on there. So we do like to have at least one touch per month. If you can do 2 to 4 touches per month, especially during the shoulder season to stay top of mind, that is, ideal. So, on the shoulder season strategy, let's talk about what that looks like. You want to have predictable revenue, obviously, because right now, what you may have is I've got seasonality wise, I've got a big peak of revenue and then a big drop, and then a big peak and then a big drop. And what we want to have is we want to have it be a peak that stays and it just has a little bit of a downturn, but it doesn't have these dramatic drops. So, the big thing that you're going to need to do in your business is to figure out what is the off-season work that we can schedule out, still have time for emergency things, but keep our technicians busy and productive. The other thing to consider as you're coming up with your strategy is how do you increase the lifetime value of your client? So the worst thing that you can do is think that this is a one-time transaction. Once we've gotten you a lead, once you've gotten a client, you need to hang on to that client. It's kind of like insurance salesman. You want to build that book of business. That's how you're going to grow, right? It's not getting this person and then another emergency happens and you get this person and then they fall off. You want to nurture and build your database so that you can build your business. And the one of the ways that you're going to be able to do that is by offering them and educating them on other things that they can get from you and not just a service call. But if you offer attic insulations or crawl space encapsulations, that you're educating them on that. If you do water heater installations, if you have that Breathe Easy package that we talked about, it's you can increase the lifetime value of your client if you have other offerings and also if you have a strong maintenance program, which is the fourth one in this. So it really locks your customers in and it makes them advocates. The best thing that I have seen, well, there's a lot of good things I've seen with maintenance programs. I'll give you some of the top ones that I've seen that make results happen. One is to give them the VIP status and truly spell out what that means. It means that if you call me today with an emergency, I will see you today, not book you out 2 days from now. So if you're in our maintenance program, you go to the front of the line. So for me, that's really valuable. And for a lot of clients, that's valuable. Another thing that's a strong maintenance program offering is giving money off of a system if they have to install, or that they get some sort, they get a free tune up, they get a free water heater flush. Like, give them value so that when they say, okay, I'm spending $240 a year, say, that there's something in there that's going to be more expensive than $240 that I'm going to get value from. So make sure that you're explaining to them what the value proposition is. The value for you is that you're getting in the home often and that you're going to be the one that they call. Something that one of my clients is doing that I think is super sticky, is that they offer, um, like if you pay $240 on your maintenance program per year, they apply that $240 towards the purchase of a new system. So the second year that it's billed up to 480. The third year it's billed up to, what is that? Nope, 720. So it keeps building up. So somebody's going to go, well, I've got $1,000 credit or more towards a system. So I'm not going with anybody else. And I'm probably not even going to compare prices. I'm going with them. So that's a really sticky thing to do. And you just need to think through, how do you put that into your program? And maybe it's not that, but maybe it's just a certain amount off, but build your maintenance program. Also, if you're thinking about selling your business, the number one thing that people look at is how many people are in your maintenance program. I have clients that have up to 80% of their database of 8,000 on their membership program. So you have to know those people in the shoulder season are well protected. So let's talk about, I get asked this a lot. Well, it's slow season. My revenue is dropping. We know it's going to drop. So I want to drop my marketing budget. And I don't think it's a good idea. And I'm going to tell you why. A couple of reasons. One is that I have this theory called the loud theory. So you're out there with probably 60 competitors, and they're all putting money into Google. They're all putting money into Facebook. They're all putting money out there in the stratosphere to get noticed. And so during the busy season, people put a lot of money in there because they want to be the one that's seen. But because everybody's got all this money in there, then how loud you appear to a client is just minimal, right? Because everybody's competing with one another. It's a noisy space. So it's hard to be heard. During the shoulder season, however, a lot of people, they all of a sudden pull back on their spending, pull back on their advertising, and you're still at the same level. So you naturally become louder. So I don't say that you need to increase the spending, but I definitely think that you need to keep your spending at a moderate level. And one of the things that we have seen, I have a company that's around 12 million for residential per year. And so they have a lot of resources and finances, and they have a large Google budget. And so we set out a budget and we'll say, okay, let's say I'll just throw out a number. Let's say it's 10,000 a month. So during the busy seasons, we're spending 12, 15,000. But during the shoulder season, it goes down because there's less searchers out there. But because we have such a strong budget, we won't spend it all. So we do that carryover. So it'll go up and down, but we have it out there and we don't have to worry about the spend. And so that makes Google go, oh, this is so nice. I'm going to put them in front of as many people as I can. So they naturally have a consistent, strong stream of leads. Um, yeah. So make sure that you're maintaining visibility and make sure that you're planning for those ups and downs during the year. All right. So this is a really important thing. As a marketing agency, we love helping our clients strategize. What's really hard is when the marketing person that I'm working with is not working with the ops people. And I'll give you some examples. They haven't told the call center or the call of the person answering the phone that they've got a special. So that's really important. Sometimes this is kind of an interesting story. So we run sponsored ads. And so if somebody puts in a competitor HVAC's name into Google, our ad will show up a lot of times. And so the person, because they're in a hurry, they click on that ad, they call the person and say, oh, hey, and the person answers, ABC, HVAC, and they go, oh, I was trying to reach XYZ. And they go, "Oh, well, I can give you that number, but hey, we've got technicians available right now. What's going on?" So a lot of times the marketing people know about this, but they haven't told the person that's answering the phone how to handle those calls. So that's not how they handle. They usually go, "Oh, let me give you the number." So you just paid for a lead that you just sent to someone else. So make sure that you are staying in alignment with the people that are answering the phones. And then the other piece is staying in alignment with your techs and what they're doing and what you're training them up to do. I have another example of where we ran a $79 maintenance program, tune ups, and they got tons of leads out of it. And they sent their techs out there to go do the tune up, but they didn't incentivize or even instruct the techs to go out and make sure that they got them signed up for maintenance programs. Like, hey, let's apply the $79 towards a maintenance program. So the goal was not to give away, a loss leader, to give away your time for a tune up that costs you a lot more than $79. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is get in there and see if there's service that we can do, if there's replacements we can do, and if there's people we can get on maintenance programs. So unless you're communicating that with your operations people and being really clear, hey, we're running this special, this is what I expect to see out of it, then it's not going to work well. So we got to make sure that everybody's on board. Marketing is going to draw and bring people to you, and then you got to close the sale. So it's really important that you do that. And the another thing I want to mention on this too is if you hire a marketing agency, and and we part of this webinar is you need to be planning out what that shoulder season looks like. When you're in the shoulder season, plan the next shoulder season. Don't try to plan it when you're running crazy during a hot spell. You need to have it ready so that as soon as the hot spell is over, we can activate that shoulder season promos so that we can get you in that, keep you in those houses. But the other thing that's funny is sometimes you will think that I'm going to be busy in January, right? It's cold, one of the coldest months of the year all over the nation for everybody that we work with. And then here it is in 2026, and we had the warmest 2 weeks of January that we have ever had. It was crazy. So there were a lot of clients that we were talking to that we said, "Oh, we didn't think we needed to run a promo because we thought we were going to be really, really busy. So we were just doing mostly branding ads. And so we had to turn it." We had somebody that was running a humidifier ad, which in a normal January would have been a great ad in the Midwest where you're running that heat pump and that furnace. And so the air is getting really dry. But since we had those two weeks of warm, there was a lot of humidity in the air. So we had to pivot and turn. So make sure that you're keeping in line. Like you can have your digital campaigns, but you've got to make sure that they are realistic with what's going on in the physical world. So um, those are three examples of marketing and operations aligning. So I want to give you a couple of I've been giving you some examples, but let me give you some other real world examples of shoulder season campaigns that we've run. This was a database reactivation. It was what we call an irresistible offer. We did a $69 heating tune up, and we ended up with 101 bookings, and 38% of those resulted in additional services. And we also were able to average around $770 of average revenue based on the upsells that we had. That was per jobs. So we had $29,000 of revenue based on this one email that went out with this irresistible offer. So this is a great one. This is a great real world case study. And this, if you haven't tried this, you definitely need to try it within your business. If you want to look on our website, exploreHVAC.com, is some text messaging examples that we've had too. Because the great thing about text messages that I didn't mention before is 92% of people are going to see that text message the minute it comes in, and they will typically respond within 2 to 3 minutes. It's another great reason why you want to have your ops people on board on when those text messages are going out so that they are ready to respond to those. The other nice thing is we're finding that people don't answer the phone like they used to. So text messages are a great way, whether somebody's in a meeting, if they're taking care of their kids, if they're in the car, they just seem to feel more comfortable responding to a text message than being taken off, um, taken off. Let me say that again. Most people like to respond to have the time to respond to text messages than being put on the spot with a telephone call. So if you're doing some outreach with telephone, nothing wrong with that, but just make sure that you've also paired it with some text messaging. So, again, just in summary, let's just talk about that four-part action plan. You want to make sure that you are planning out your seasons at least quarterly. I really like having a year-long plan because that way we can get ready with pricing and what's profitable, what's not. But coming up with those seasonal offers, figuring out what you want to do to become known before needed, that trust and authority building. And then nurturing your database and making sure that you get membership growth. The companies that are winning in the shoulder season and just overall in their growth are consistent. And so if you need some help um, taking control of your revenue, because we know you can't control the weather, but you can control your market, make sure that you get a hold of us here at exploreHVAC.com. Um, here's my email address and my phone number. Please feel free to call me. Till the end of the month, we are offering a marketing and competitive analysis. This is typically something we charge almost $600 for. It is pretty valuable because not only does it tell you how your position and things that you can be doing, but it also tells you what your competitors are up to. Because this is a dynamic market. We talked about the loud campaign and the loud strategy. So we're here to help you win in the shoulder season. So give us a call. And if you'd like to get more information, go on our website, exploreHVAC.com, and also check out our other webinars, subscribe to our podcast, and also check out our social media because we have a lot of great tips that show up on there on the daily. Thank you for joining us.